All right, we're back another Saturday on the Watchdogs and our Black Media Network, and we got the president, CEO, and chairman of the board. Look at that, and he's muted. You're still muted. All right.
Okay, I'm good morning, good morning, good morning. I didn't even realize I was muted. I was over there talking to the producer.
Well, we'll
Who,
let Katie be the judge of that. You like that, didn't you, Katie?
that's a good one. Let Katie be
I
the
like
judge of that.
it. I like it.
we got we got
So,
uh, we got the Honorable Katie Brewington, excuse me, here, and Katie, we understand that you are a sitting judge, and let's start off with the easy question. Tell us about you. I hope it's easy at least.
I mean, I think it's easy. I should know about myself, right? So I come from the great state of South Dakota. I am not Savannah born.
Hmm.
But I think that I should have been here all along. My husband and I moved here in 2012, and we are homeowners here now. We're business owners here. We absolutely love Chatham County, and we opened up a law firm in 2012, the Brewington Law Firm. And I've primarily been doing criminal defense and well, I've done a little prosecuting, I've done a little criminal defense, I've done a little judging, done a little everything kind of in that realm. So, um, I also, before law school, was a probation officer.
Hmm.
So that's just kind of a little bit of a background of my experience and me coming to the town here.
How cool! How cool! Now, South Dakota. And if I'm going too far, let me know. Um, do you have any ties to the Native community, or just kind of just where I was born and raised?
So it's just where I was born. I was
Gotcha.
actually raised in Pennsylvania. I've lived in
Gotcha.
5 different states. I'm running from the law, is what I tell people. Um, so if you can't beat them, join them, you know?
Yeah. Hey. So, Katie, you're running for. Tell us what you're running for. I'm not. I hate the term. What are you being? What you're a candidate for? What position? And what is that position about? I mean, we hear somebody. We have like 100 people running for judge, and we're like, okay, what does that mean? And what do they do? And who's doing what?
Absolutely. There's a lot of judges in this town. We have municipal judges, recorder, state, superior. I'm running for magistrate court. And magistrate court is often called the people's court. And it's because you don't have to have an attorney to come through magistrate court. Primarily on the civil side, they do landlord tenant, so dispossessory hearings, and then small claims up to $15,000. And then on the criminal side is where they do pre warrant hearings, where people apply to have other people arrested for certain things. Or they do good behavior bonds, which are what I always tell my clients are if you see somebody in the streets act like an adult, it's not a no contact order. It's a order to make sure that people are behaving adequately if they see each other type of thing. So that's what magistrate court does. There's garnishments, there's auto abandonments, there's a little bit of those things, but primarily the four things I said is what they do.
okay, awesome. Um, so did you tell us why you're running for judge?
Why I'm running for judge is because I have been a judge now for about close to a year and a half. And I think that I'm doing a good job. And I think that I have really good experience from being a probation officer up to being a judge. And that it's kind of the natural progression to serve my community. I've been serving my community in so many different ways. Um, Through criminal defense, especially, the main people that I have as clients are low income clients. I get them in two different ways. I get those clients because I have a contract with the city of Savannah to represent low income clients in magistrate court for those pre warrant hearings, and then I also take federal court appointments. So, between being a probation officer and then the criminal defense and being a prosecutor and now a judge, I think that becoming a full time judge is the natural progression of taking my experience and using it to serve others.
Cool, y'all. So I'm downtown with a homeless ministry, The beautiful thing about it is they have the homeless folks come in First African and they minister. So that's what you all are hearing. So I'll mute when I'm not talking because I'm now just getting started. But
That'd be a good idea.
yeah, because and I love it. Resurrection Ministries of Christ, they do a beautiful job. But Katie, why would you jump into that? I mean, not that being an attorney is an easy job, but you pretty much can guide your own path. Why jump into that space of being a judge when now you have to adjust and do some things a little different?
Why jump into that space? Because why not? If you think you're the best candidate, and I do, then I think that it is, like I said, a way to serve my community. And if we're not here to put here to serve other people and to help other people, I don't know what we're here for. So I just think that, yeah, we can do anything. I mean, lawyers can make as much money as they want. Lawyers can work as much as they want. That's never been my career path. My career path has always been to have a work-life balance for myself, because I have to take care of myself in order to take care of other people, but then also continue to serve people. And so that's why I'm jumping in to try to become the next magistrate court judge.
And I want to go ahead, Joe.
So we know that you're not running for Superior Court or Recorder's Court. You're running for Magistrate Court, and it's different. These judge positions are different, but a lot of people don't see it that way.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of people are looking at it as just being a judge, that you're the judge over anything that might happen to them, whether it's criminal, civil, or whatever. So I had a question that somebody asked on. We're on 8 different streaming platforms. We got 674 total, 675 total people watching now. And one of the streaming platforms I'm looking at said, how do you view the role of rehabilitation? So how do you view the role of the system rehabilitating someone?
So I can speak to it, especially in federal court, because federal court has a statute that the judges are supposed to follow in order to find the appropriate sentence. Because in criminal law, you're not always just wanting to throw people away and, lock the key and then everything's going to be great and justice has been served. That's not the point. I think rehabilitation is one of the biggest reasons to have a judgment on people, is because it gives them a chance to do things and to prove to their community, to their people, to the judge and to the prosecutors and their attorney that they can be rehabilitated. Rehabilitation should be bigger than it is. I think a lot of judges view more, we should punish people, and that's all we're doing, and that's not what we're doing. That's not what we should be doing. We should always be looking to rehabilitate people, because that's the ultimate goal. For example, right now I sit in Pooler and Recorder's Court, and we do a lot of traffic. And when somebody comes in with a driving with a suspended license, my ultimate goal is just to get them to be a legal driver. I'm not trying to punish them. I'm not trying to, throw the book at them. My ultimate goal is, let's see what we can do to help you so you can get your license back. And then let's see what we can do about this ticket to ensure it doesn't re-suspend your license. So rehabilitation should be on the forefront of a judge's thinking at all times.
Yeah, and Carlton just joined us, but I'm glad you said that's a segue to what I was going to ask a moment ago. I think, and I talk a lot about this. I think our criminal justice system and our legal system, our judicial system is way out of whack. It needs to be revised in so much as that what you just said. The system is no longer about rehabilitation. It's more about how much cash can we garner, how much can we get off of probation fines, how much money can we draw away from people, which then impacts our lower income communities. And I just have a major problem with that. The other part of that is, we've got to, in my opinion, as a nation, really look at the laws on the books. Why are we incarcerating people, right, for abuse of substance abuse instead of rehabilitating them? The only time we need to incarcerate folks is for violent crimes, rape, killings, armed robbery. But what are your thoughts about all of that? Because I think we really need at a legal, a federal and a local level, and even a state level, a real conversation about how do we advocate in reform of all of that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing that I always have to do as a judge when I'm elected is that I have to follow the laws that are there, you know? And so I would love to change the system. We all want to come and change everything, but I can only do what I'm going to do out of my courtroom. And that is to keep that thought of rehabilitation in the forethought of what I'm doing, because especially, magistrate court has very quick repercussions. You come into court and you may be coming in the front door and leaving in the back door with the sheriffs and going to the jail. That's a very real repercussion. And all of my clients say, well, I don't want to go to jail. Well, of course you don't. I don't want you to go to jail either. Nobody wakes up and says, yes, I want to go to jail today, surprisingly. But you always have to be looking at that and making sure that you are doing everything that you can without representing that person, without legislating from the bench, without that type of thing, to just make sure that you're always looking at what can you do to help others rehabilitate and get on track. With dispossessories, my ultimate goal isn't going to be to kick out every person out of their home. I want people to do the right thing, and I want it to be fair from not only the landlords but also the people that are the renters. The process needs to be fair for both of them.
We have our legal expert, Carlton Carr, joining us.
Well, hello.
I ain't gonna say legal expert. This is far from. But I read up a little. I had to read up on you before you came up on here. And I seen you done a lot, from Ludwig to Chatham County, from defense to solicitor. So you've been in there doing a lot hopefully doing a lot for the people, not doing a lot for the man.
I think I am doing a lot for the people. Before you came on, I said that I've tailored my practice to make sure that I'm representing mostly low income clients. That doesn't make me the richest lawyer in town. I'm not going to be on the TV, and I'm not going to have billboards and all of those things representing low income people. I'm going to make a good living, don't get me wrong. But I think it's very important that somebody with experience that has the passion to help people should take cases, of disenfranchised people that can't hire their own attorney and need somebody to walk them through the process.
So you do private practice. You do private practice too, correct?
I'm in private practice. I work for the Brewington law firm. It's me. I answer the phones. I do the IT. I clean the bathroom. I do everything at the Brewington law firm. Um, I've always kept my practice small so I can do everything myself. And I have always tried to keep different types of revenue coming in. So I've done court appointed through the state system. I've done court appointed through the federal system. And I've had my contract with the city for magistrate court. And then now I sit on the bench in various courts. And so I'm in private practice, but I'm still serving underserved communities while in private practice. And sometimes it can get confusing for my clients because to them, I'm just their court appointed attorney. But I assure them if they wanted to give me $10,000, I would happily take it.
Well, they'll probably get your full blown attention if they gave you $10,000.
And that's the thing, Julius, is that's what clients say is, I wish that I could give you some money so you would do a better job on my case. And that's I can understand why people think that, because they didn't pick me, they didn't vet me, they didn't get to interview me and say that's the attorney that I want for me. They just got stuck with me. But I think that there are very good attorneys that are court appointed attorneys. There are very bad attorneys that are court appointed attorneys. There's good and bad retained attorneys. And so I work, if somebody gives me $10,000 or I'm getting paid X amount of money per hour through the system, I'm going to work just as hard for both of those people because that's what they deserve.
So you think that what's your take on, is the system fair to all people, regardless of, is justice really blind? Does
No,
the scales even? Give
no.
us your take on it.
No, 100% not. The four of us on this show right now, we all go driving in the same car down my street in the state streets with tinted windows and rims, and I'm gonna drive perfectly fine and get and be gone. And there's likely that one of the three of you is gonna get pulled over because you have a tail light out or because some crazy, um crazy infraction that is seen. I don't worry about that. It's 100% not equal. It's not fair to people, and that's where people like me can come in and say, you know what, I don't care what color you are, what race you are, what gender you are. I'm going to use the laws and I'm going to utilize everything that I can to make sure that justice is served for you. Because I'm your attorney, I can ensure that it's going to be as fair a system for you. I unfortunately can't make it a fair system for everybody. But as an elected official, I can touch a lot more people and I can create a courtroom that is more equal. And so it does give me a platform to do at least what I can do in the realm that I'm in to make it as equal as possible, because it's not. It's not, and anybody that says that it is either foolish or lying.
Okay.
So this will be your first term as magistrate court judge, correct?
Yes. It'll be my first time in that court, yes. I've sat in Bryan State Court, I've sat in Pooler Court, and I've sat a lot in Recorder's Court. So I've done traffic tickets, misdemeanors, felony and misdemeanor preliminary hearings, first appearances, those types of cases. We've done bench trials, um, for smaller things here and there. So the thing is that the rules and regulations that I'm using in the courtrooms that I'm in now are going to be similar to the ones that I can use in magistrate court. So my experience will make me ready to go on day one when I get into magistrate court, even though I haven't sat there before. Plus, I have a plan. I mean, if I do get elected on May 21st, I don't have to shut my practice down till December 31st. And that gives me several months to mentor with the judges that are there. The judge that I'm hoping to take his seat is one of the biggest mentor judges in all of the state. If I would be crazy not to take the time between now and January to pick his brain and learn everything I can from him.
Okay.
I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad to hear that, Kate. I think all of us, we get excited about entering these new spaces and don't take the time to really garner some wisdom from people. So that's good to hear.
I'm never afraid to say that I'm not the smartest person in the room. That's a lot of times people have robitis and they think because they put a black robe on, they're automatically the smartest person in the room. And I'm never going to be that person. I always know that there's people that maybe not even necessarily smarter, but see something that I don't see. The more eyes that we get on something, the more accurate we're going to become in the end, because the law is gray a lot of times. And so it is a judgment call. So if I'm not 100% sure in my judgment, I have no problem going and speaking to people that I trust. And I am lucky enough to have several people that are very, very good attorneys and very good judges that I can look to and ask questions of.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And in return, they do the same with me. My phone rings weekly, mostly for federal court, for people saying, "Hey, what do you think about this? Can we talk about this fact scenario? Have you looked at this law lately? Did you see this new case coming down?" I guess we're just all big nerds, but we really, the more that we can corroborate, the better that we're always going to end up being in the end.
I always found it interesting that, and I've been doing this political thing I've always been apolitical, but I've been doing this political advocacy and political this political work as a consultant for over 9 years now. And I always saw when it came to judges, because being a member of certain parties that I was affiliated with, we would recruit people to run for office also. Hey, you make a great person to run for office. You make a great, and we go out and recruit them, but we could never get lawyers to want to run against these judges. That's because y'all have to appear before them and y'all don't want to run against them and alienate them or something.
So I think that's a little bit of it. It's very notorious in Chatham County that if you get elected and you get that I behind your name, that you are going to probably run up unopposed until you want to give up that seat. And we also have a lot of judges that probably should have given up their seat a while ago, but they just don't want to give up the power. And that's a problem. I'm not going into this job because I want power. That's the wrong reason to get into this job. So, I mean, I think that it's a little bit of other attorneys are afraid to run against, because we do have to be within those courtrooms, and we do have to sit there. Right now, the person I'm running against, she sits on the bench sometimes in magistrate court, and we have to tell the clients and everybody in the room that, hey, there is a potential conflict. We're running against each other. She's not an incumbent, neither am I. That's why we're running for this open seat. But I think that's a little bit of it, Julius. And I also think that there is kind of a protection among the judges that once you're in, you kind of protect your own, because if your seat isn't safe, then everybody else's seat isn't safe.
But they only come out every 4 years like everybody else. You see a couple of judges everywhere, like Tammy Stokes, she's everywhere.
Yes.
I don't too much care for Lisa Colbert, but she goes a lot.
Lisa's nice. Well, we're not gonna go leave Lisa alone. Leave Lisa alone.
I like both judges, and you know what?
I love Tammy.
I say the two of them will show up to the opening of a paper bag. They
Well,
are very involved.
Down to earth.
Let me clarify. I helped Lisa Colbert the first time when she first got elected. I was everywhere for her.
She got to follow a lot of
campaign, but speaking for her. Always, me and my wife was everywhere doing things for her. But I like a judge that has a backbone. I like a judge that's not trying to do what she thinks.
She ain't going to jail for you.
What she thinks that I don't know. The politically correct thing. I want you to do what the law says. If there's an opportunity for someone to do something, or there's an opportunity for you to see the law and say, well, he might be right. Let me kick it up to the court so they can make a decision on it, because it's unclear. And I like a judge that has a backbone, that's not going to do what's politically correct, but what is correct, and in light most favorable to that person. If that person is not trying to violate the law, if that person is trying to do to better the situation, then do what's right, And you have that gray area. It's a gray area in there where you can find something against it and you can find something for it. Every time in law, that's how it works. So, and it ain't just plain and simple and cut and dry. Yeah, and you know that from practicing law.
You're talking about loopholes. Loopholes exist. And I agree that the loopholes exist, and then sometimes you can kind of skirt a loophole, but you gotta be careful with that too, because with judges, as soon as Keisha gives a call to you, as soon as they look left, here comes WTLC with their foolishness.
But do everything to help me when I come before you. That's all I ask.
Yeah.
You
So,
know,
Katie, if you see him,
I seem to be
Katie, if you
getting
see him
that a
pull up, you
lot,
better run.
Julius.
That's so shady. That's so shady.
The two
What?
things I get
What's Katie
is
Carlton?
I always get, well, if I
Yeah,
vote for
wait.
you, will you let me off if I'm in your
Hell no.
courtroom? And I say, you know what? The answer
Right?
is
Hell
I'm
no.
going to follow the law.
hey, answer it right now, because you got 361 people watching on the regular
Well,
platform, Our Black Media Network. You got 300. Robert, sit still 1 second. You got
I'm
360 people watching on my page, and you got 109 people watching on YouTube. So
I got a million. So.
there's 829 people watching right now that's going to tell their friends all about Katie Brewington. So we're going to go to a quick commercial. I'll play it, Robert. And we're going to go to a quick commercial and come right back and then let you. We got a couple of more questions for you because we got a couple of hardball questions for you coming up. So don't get scared.
Oh, I'm ready. Let's go.
All right.
Hi, I'm Katie Brewington, and I'm running for Magistrate Court Judge. Magistrate Court is often called the People's Court because people represent themselves or are pro se litigants. Magistrate Court handles civil claims up to $15,000, dispossessory proceedings, pre-warrant applications, and good behavior bonds. I'm a great candidate for judge because I have the experience, compassion, and drive to get the job done. I have been a probation officer, a criminal defense attorney, a solicitor, and a municipal court judge, and I will take all of that experience to get the job done. So remember, vote Katie Brewington, May 21st from
Transformative. That's what Sonya Jackson is. Creative. That's what Sonya Jackson is. Compassionate. That's what Sonya Jackson is. Leadership. That's what Sonya Jackson demonstrates. Dedicated. That's what Sonya Jackson is. In Chatham County, there's never been a tax commissioner like Sonya Jackson. She has made the office more accessible, more consistent, more convenient, and more service-friendly. Let's keep Sonya Jackson while she takes the tax commissioner's office to new heights. On May 21st, cast your vote for a great public servant. Vote Sonya Jackson for tax commissioner.
Hello, I'm Richard Coleman, and I'm running for the office of Sheriff of Chatham County. And when I'm elected, I promise to inspect what I expect. Chatham County, it's time for a change, and that change is me, Richard Coleman.
All right. So y'all, Sonya gonna get you for that picture at the end. Well, she right there with that little SWV look.
We back. We here with Judge Katie Brewington. She's a sitting judge in Pooler, Georgia, and then she's running now for the Chatham County seat of Magistrate Court in Chatham County. So, Judge, we appreciate you coming out.
Absolutely.
And we ever get a ticket in Pooler, we just hope that we go in front of you.
Yeah, now I know I can speed. I can speed in Pooler.
Well, I don't see any of y'all speeding, so it shouldn't be a problem now.
Don't never pull my record. Never.
Okay, so tell us, how do you, one of the other questions was, how do you handle cases involving sensitive topics such as race, gender, and religion?
So I think that every case can have a sensitive topic. I mean, race, religion, gender is going to come into almost every case. So I think that you just handle it the way you're going to handle everything. You make sure the process is fair. You make sure that people are getting equal justice. And you do everything that you can in your courtroom to ensure that everybody's rights are being, not being violated. Everybody's following the law, and that everybody's getting a fair shake of it is a good way to say it.
All right.
Okay.
Well,
Call
No, I
back.
got a question.
We got another candidate, by the way, y'all. Y'all need. I know y'all excited. This is why I tell y'all let's do an hour per candidate.
No, Jay don't come on to 12:45.
Oh, excuse me.
Oh, well, Jennifer Lewis made this statement the other day. Well, in an interview she was doing, she was like, "The greatest leaders surround themselves with generals." And if you had to say you had to, do you have a group of people or a team that if you feel like you need to consult outside of what you actually know to get a broader spectrum, do you have those people to consult with?
100%. I think I had that before I started this campaign, and I definitely have it now. One of the people that I respect the most in my life, and I should, is my husband, Anthony. We've been together for 15 years. He's the one that I look to he's one of the smartest people that I know. I have a lot of mentors and a lot of people within the legal community that I can look to for help. And then I have friends that are outside of the legal community, because sometimes you just need eyes to look at it that aren't critical and haven't been maybe a little jaded that day or something like that, and get some new eyes looking at it. So yeah, and I also believe that if you are lucky enough to have this community around you, then you need to reach your hand down and you need to help others up with you. One of the things that I have always tried to do, and my husband and I have maybe had a little disagreement about it, is I've always tried to help other attorneys maybe go out on their own and start their own practice, or start working in federal law, or start doing bigger cases than they're used to. And my husband always says, hey, you're training your competition. And I don't believe that. I think that I'm just helping train others that I wish I would have had that when I first came to town and I was a brand new baby attorney. And I didn't. And I had to figure everything out on my own. So not only do I believe in having that community around me, I believe in reaching my hand down and bringing up people along with me. Because the better that we all are together, the better the system is going to run.
I thoroughly agree with you on that, because currently I serve as a bus driver for Chatham County, and the one thing that I always try and do is when I get as we said, the babies come in, I try and educate them and teach them the ways so that they learn and they grow and be the best people, so they'll stay and they'll love what they do.
Yes.
So the fact that you sit there and you go out and you mentor these baby lawyers or these other people out here around you to make them better people so that they'll be better people throughout their career is absolutely amazing.
Well, thank you.
Okay. Now we know you. Do you have aspirations one day to sit on the Georgia Supreme Court or the U.S. Supreme Court?
Everybody asks me that, Julius. They say, are you just going to use this as a jump off? Because magistrate court isn't the sexiest court. Half the time people don't even know where it is or what we do there. But no, I think that if I had the chance to move up, I would have to seriously think about it, because I think that magistrate court is very important. I think that it's doing very important work. And I believe in when you do something, you should try to be the best at it. So just like I said, the judge that's leaving, Judge Barker, how he goes around the state and he mentors other judges and he helps write statutes and he helps write policy. I would like to become that for magistrate court as well, because somebody's got to do it, and so why not it be me?
Do you have a compelling story that you like to tell about sitting on the bench and what made you want to be a lawyer, and what made anything that ever wanted to just throw you away from the practice or really pull you in? We got about 10 minutes left, about 8 minutes left before we bring on our next person. Do you have one of those stories?
I think those stories, it's funny because I feel like I'm on a roller coaster on a daily basis, because I wake up and I love my job, and by 10 o'clock I hate my job, and then by 1 o'clock I love my job again, because I'm touching a lot of different things throughout the day. And so I might talk to a client who's very appreciative one moment, and then I have to talk to a U.S. attorney who's arrogant and thinks they know everything the next. A compelling story, I can tell you about a lot of people that I think that I really helped. I helped in their life. And, I'll start with this. So when I was a probation officer, I was young. I was in my 20s, and I thought I knew everything, and I had a little bit of power with a badge and could arrest people. And people would say, "Oh, you follow the rules and you're strict and things like that." And I said, "Yeah, because I'm doing that in order to help you. Because if you can be successful in this, then you will rehabilitate and you'll be able to move on with your life and not have this hanging over you." And so a couple times I had clients that were horrible to me. They treated me like crap, and the entire time just hated me for being their probation officer. And then they would call 6 months later. They would call a year later after they were off of my caseload, and they would say, "Thank you. You did exactly what I needed at that moment. I needed somebody to be hard on me. I needed somebody to make sure that I was following the rules because I wasn't going to do it myself." And so I think that's what led me to law school. When I went to law school, I was not going to practice criminal law. That was not ever the dream. I went to law school because I was smart and I took the LSAT and I was accepted to schools, and I said, "Hey, why not?" I don't know that I necessarily had this great burning passion, and that's what everybody wants to hear, but I don't think I did. I think I did it because I could. And then when I got out and I started helping clients and I started seeing that I could help somebody, and I could help them rehabilitate, or I could mitigate their circumstances, or I could walk them through. I've represented a murderer in federal court. It was very obvious that he had done what he had been accused of doing, and we went to jury trial. And but I was still able to make sure that he understood the process. He had somebody standing in his corner. He had somebody to fight to make sure his rights were not violated. Because I was explaining to a police officer the other day. They said, "Oh, you're just sleazy as defense attorney, and you're trying to find loopholes and get people off." I said, "No, I'm policing the police. I'm making sure you're following the rules so everybody else rights are not violated, because otherwise we would have complete chaos." A specific story. I have a client right now. It breaks my heart. He's going to probably end up doing about 5 to 6 years in federal prison for being a felon with a firearm. And why it breaks my heart is because he was just sleeping in a car at 4:30 in the morning in the wrong neighborhood, and the officers saw a young black man in a car and decided to stop and talk to him. And he got scared, and he woke up, and he saw he was surrounded by police, and he was scared out of his mind, and he got out of the car, and he was sitting on a gun. We did a suppression hearing. I believe that they didn't have the right to go and talk to him. I think that sleeping while black should not be a crime. And I had some law. I'm saying that, I had law to back up that they should not have been able to come and talk to him and stop him and knock on the window and open his door. Judge saw it differently. And so I had to go into the jail the other day and tell him, "I'm sorry that we lost, and we don't have any more defenses, and you're probably going to need to plead to this. And you have 2 armed robberies by intimidation on your background, and you're going to do a severe amount of time in prison." And this kid's 25 years old, and what he did to start with was he fell asleep in his car, and he was the wrong race and the wrong gender in the wrong area. So, I don't think I ever had the burning passion to begin with, but I think now that I see injustices and I see that the system isn't fair for people, or I see dirty cops and things like that, or I see, other people doing things that they're not supposed to be doing, it gives me the burning passion to do this job. So I think that I kind of learned, I became passionate through working in these positions and through meeting different people and through dealing with very, very hard cases and sometimes hard clients. But hard clients don't mean that you don't represent them the best that you can. So I think that may have answered your question.
It did. It did. Carlton, you got any other questions?
Yeah, but I can't. I don't know how to phrase. I guess I don't know how to phrase my question. This sitting on the top, but I'm
But
a
she
hard
got
time how to phrase it.
she got about 3 minutes left. So if you got one, go ahead, and then before she gives her closing. Um,
You know, I can think that a lot of people that I know that whole aspect, and the fact that you went above. I ain't gonna necessarily got a question. I'm just make a statement, but the fact that you went as hard as you did for him makes the difference. Because the one thing that I know is usually when you're a public defender, most public defenders have a heavy caseload. So they have more versus a paid lawyer, heavy case versus a paid lawyer. You have a heavy caseload, so you have multiple people you have to deal with. Whether it's a paid attorney only has maybe 1 to 2, so they get to allocate a lot of time. So currently, do you have a high caseload being dealing with that, or is it more so that you get more one-on-one time with your clients?
No, I definitely have a very good balance right now because I probably have about 7 clients in federal court, and they are anywhere from a supervised release violation to I have a jury trial next week or the week after. It'll be my 4th federal jury trial. There's a lot of attorneys that go 30 years and never have a federal jury trial, and I'm about to have my 4th. Um, so that made me lose my track of thought for a second. Oh yeah, and the other thing is magistrate court. I probably have maybe 10 to 20 cases at all times, but those are just pre-warrant hearings. I can talk to my clients, I can give them the information they need. I go and I fight out at the preliminary hearing. But I have a small caseload of people that I can take the time to make sure that I'm making sure that they're understanding the process, and I'm making sure that it's an equal process for them, and I'm ensuring that they get the best outcome that they can for their case.
okay, okay. Well, before you go, we have one question for you that popped up also. Do you promise to manage your courtroom with fairness, efficiency, and respect?
I mean, what do y'all
100%.
think?
100%.
Well, they got to ask the question, Robert.
That's the
Um,
easiest question. Yes.
No, she doesn't. No, there you go.
well, the thing is, they're going to hold her accountable for how she answers it. So because if they go and they monitor and people see and they go and they say, oh, she treated some people like dirt. One of the fairest people I have ever seen in a courtroom. This guy up in Connecticut, the old man that gives people breaks. He has his own YouTube. I think they just put him on YouTube, but he gives people a break. This guy, I've never seen nothing like it in a courtroom. He's about 90 years old, but he has compassion, and everybody should have some form of compassion, and that's my biggest thing with anybody. Joe Huffman is one of those people that I just admire from being a judge and being a lawyer, because he shows you that he cares and he's trying to find a solution to help everybody by being fair to the citizens and being fair to that person that's up on in front of him. So
I think
I sat and I watched him a couple of times, and I saw where he has shown that that's the type of judge people need right there.
Yeah.
I would
I
say
really respect Judge Huffman too. And the one thing that I can say about Huffman and I is that we both came from a very similar background where we did not grow up with a bunch of money. We did not grow up with silver spoons in our hand. We've worked for everything that we have. My husband and I are both the first people to go to college and go on to get higher degrees in our families. We are the first homeowners in our families. We are the first business owners in our families. So I have 3 brothers. They've all gone to prison. I understand. I have seen it from my family. I've seen it from my husband's family. I understand there's instant repercussions. I understand that if you get arrested, that's not, a lot of people think, oh, you just go, you bond out, everything will be fine, you can take care of the charge later. Well, people lose their housing, they lose their job, they lose family members, they lose friends. If you don't always remember that, and always remember that there are repercussions for people, and have compassion, then you shouldn't be on the bench.
Okay.
Yeah, and I know you got to go because we're on time, but I'll give a shout out to Tammy Stokes. I'll never forget. I got in a traffic ticket. This is during COVID, and I was managing mom and dad, but I had to get that second COVID shot because we knew what that was about. When I went before her, she used real life experience. That's what I think a lot of people, they step into power and step out of real life. We all have issues, and I like the speed. It's no secret. I'm an aggressive driver, but at the same time, I had a reason for it. And then she understood. It was like, listen, you don't have a manual for life, but just be mindful. And so I just think you got a balance of being realistic with the law. But last statement is Katie, because these two won't be quiet. So your last statement.
Last statement, is that what you said?
Yes.
100% vote. Early voting starts April 29th, goes through May 17th. It's made so convenient. 3 weeks of early voting. Election day is May 21st. You can take FMLA time off. You can get out of work. Talk to your people. Understand that you get time to go and vote, and that it's important. And, I hope that I have given some information to make people think that I'm the right candidate, because I truly do believe that I'm the right candidate and the right person, and it's the right time for me to get this position. And so I appreciate you guys. I really appreciate being given this platform, and vote May 21st. I'll say K Brew for the 912.
We're going to try the last.
I like it.
We're going to try the last week before election. That's probably that Saturday or the week before that, to have 5 or 6 judge candidates on, and we'll give you a call and see whether you can come and grace us with your presence and give your last plea to the voters out there to get out and vote. We'll be right back in a minute with ex-former Commissioner Jay Jones. And you took off so fast.
Because you ain't gonna let Jay come on. Y'all know I'm
just hold on. I'm showing you how this is really supposed to be done. That's what I'm doing.
So what he been the last
we'll be right back with former Commissioner Jay Jones. After this commercial, we'll be right back with former Commissioner Jay Jones, who's now running for School Board District 7. Ms. Brewington, we will bring her back 1 second. We appreciate you. We'll give you a call. Thank you for showing up.
Thank y'all. Have a good day and a good weekend.
All right. We'll be right back.
Thank you,
Now look at that. He rushing to get you back, and then he ain't even here. We sorry, Jay. We ran about 5 or 6 minutes over because Robert wanted to tell that little story on the end.
Ain't nothing new. You know how Robert do.
Yeah. So we welcome you to the show. We appreciate you with gracing us with your presence, your time, and energy. We know you need to be out there on that campaign trail, knocking on doors and shaking hands and kissing babies, but you're going to give us about 45 minutes of your time, and we appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you.
Okay. Tell us about yourself, where you grew up, schools you attended, your roots in Savannah, your wife and kids, the past and politics. Give us a few minutes and tell us about that before we get into all these hard questions Carlton got for you.
Not a problem. First off, it's Frank Caprio. Frank Caprio out of Rhode Island. I watch him all the time. The judge up in Rhode Island,
Yeah,
who's always doing
yeah,
that. Frank
yeah.
Caprio. Very good judge. Very good man. I just want to make sure I hint that it's Frank Caprio.
Yeah, he's a great.
Jay, they tried to block your time. We're gonna reclaim your time.
But they didn't already gave me all that stuff, and I was gonna say in the kind words of Maxine was, I'm gonna reclaim my time. I'm gonna make sure I reclaim my time. For those who don't know who I am James J. Jones. As Julius Hall alluded to, I am a former county commissioner here in Chatham County. I graduated from Alfred Eli Beach High School class of '93. I also attended Windsor Forest High School for 3 years, so I'm a dual school resident. Tompkins wasn't around. If Tompkins was around, I probably would have went to Tompkins too. And my mother wanted me to go to Groves, but I just couldn't do Groves. So I'm born and raised here. All 12 years of my schooling is right here in Chatham County. I went to Shaw University in Raleigh, North Carolina on a full scholarship ride. I went for environmental science and chemistry. I was there I'm back in the late 90s, got my degree, came back home, did 1 year here, did not like Savannah, moved back away, moved to Atlanta, moved to New York, moved to Texas, moved back to North Carolina. Parents got sick, came back to Savannah one more time, and I've been here since 2013. And so, 2008, and I stopped working in 2013. But all in all, I love my hometown. I love where I'm from. I've seen it grow. Some things I like, some things I don't like. But these are part of politics. If you didn't know in the game, I've been in the political game going on 10, 15 years. That's how I know you, Robert. That's how I know you, Julius, from being in the political structure. Watching the chemistry of our environment change so drastically is very, very eye-opening to me. That's why I said, hey, man, I'm going to run for school board because, number one, as everybody who doesn't know, I got a child in the school system, Johannes Jones, better known as Botanical Boy, and making sure that his schooling is done right is very important to me. I got the first hint of that at Hurd Elementary School, and we're getting ready to go to STEAM Academy, old Bartlett Bartlett Middle School, as we know it and grew up as. And so my thing is, as we matriculate in the school system, it's to a point where, as a parent, it's like a full-time job trying to keep up with the school system, trying to make sure that your child gets the right education, trying to make sure they got the right resources and everything like that. So I said, you know what, I'm a politician. I've been in the political game for a while. Why not try my hand at doing something with the school board? If for those who don't know, the school board budget is approved by the county commission. So I've been looking at the school board budget since I was a county commission, because in all, 51% of all our taxation that comes out throughout the county goes toward the school board. So it's not a budget I'm not familiar with. The only thing difference is, rather than approve it, I'll be writing it. And so that'll be my candid conversation, is, I guess, alluding to your questions. And so I'm waiting. I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to be on here platform, working through my schedule, and I'm all ears and all answers.
I want to answer Ivan. I'm out here doing homeless ministry, so don't come for me right now. I'm trying but Jay, you've been in this a while. What are 3 things that you would advocate for when elected to that role, as far as being a representative for overall school system?
Well, other than taking care of the homeless who ain't really homeless, that was towards you, Robert. 3 things I would advocate for, and I've been that's probably been the starch question that's been asked. Number one, I live in West Chatham now, so it's different from where I came up and grew up, where we got all the resources in Savannah, Georgia. All we had to do was whisper it, and Savannah government or Savannah Chatham County Public School System would do that. Living in Pooler, you have what you call community schools, which you have in Savannah, but the specialty programs are all in the heart of Savannah, Georgia, and they have not done anything to kind of create a morph or a silo for that kind of situation to actually exist for not just Chatham County, not just for Pooler, but for Fort Wentworth, Bloomingdale, Garden City, all those schools. Now, Garden City gets it because they're right next to Savannah, but the rest of our little, our little niches out here, and what used to be considered the country growing up, um, they don't have those opportunities to have those magnet programs and all those other things like that without having to travel in town. And so that becomes problematic because, as you all know, the busing situation has been a problem going on what almost 5 years now. So if my child wants to participate in a specialty program in town, I got to drive them in town. Now, mind you, there are loopholes to the game. You know, I can go ahead and sign my child up to be a sped student and take advantage of all the resources and everything like that. But it shouldn't be I have to find the loopholes in order to get those resources. Those resources should be available to me. If my child wants to be an engineer and he should be able to go to Jenkins, and it should be a busing situation where he goes to Jenkins, or vice versa. If somebody in Savannah wants to go out here and we want to create those systems out here in New Hampstead, or the schools that actually are provided out here, the same accord should be available. So I think the first thing is, it's a two part answer to that. First one is, transportation. We need to really take a deep dive at transportation, the transportation model, and make sure it's effective and working for all our kids and not just some of our kids. The other piece is the Title I dollars. We need to make sure those Title I dollars are being used effectively in those environments where they should be. I think, we have a situation where we have some schools who collect Title I dollars, but those Title I programs aren't really building the best we can possibly get at those kids. And so having a real true evaluation of how the Title I dollars work, sped dollars work, and all those kind of different programs work is very, very important for us. And the last thing is a shakeup on the budget. And I know that's the question y'all gonna probably ask me, but a shakeup on the budget. We have a new superintendent. We've had Ann Levesque going on 5-10 years. Before that, you had Lockamy, and you've had all these superintendents. But Robert, I can say this for you. Me and you were in school systems. There was a sign when you came into Savannah, Georgia, that said we were one of the number one rated schools in the country. Not just in Georgia, but in the country. At one point in time, Chatham County used to be a trademark for schools within the confines of not just Georgia, but for the country. We can get back to that. But only way we can get back to that is we got to get politics out of the education system, and we got to get leadership who actually going to work for the kids and not for economics.
Well, it's funny you talk about transportation. Our new co-host, who's a younger brother who I'm trying to, train and bring up through the ranks of this podcast, Carlton, is actually, I hope I didn't out him, but is also in that space of being a transportation specialist here. So, Carlton, let me turn on you because I'm sure you got a few questions to kind of provide.
Everybody's favorite question is always, we want our kids to be bused from here to there. We want our kids to be bused from here to there. But when it comes down to it, like right now, we're currently in the process of doing the mileage report of how many miles we actually travel from route to route. When it came to those busing kids from West Chatham all the way from Port Wentworth, way out to the Chatham County line to, as you say, the STEAM schools, but it's a cost. And the fact of the matter is, y'all don't have nobody in Chatham County has the retention to keep bus drivers here. There's not enough money in transportation. No, let me say it like that. Transportation has a huge budget, but the money that the bus drivers should make, they don't make. Because the one thing that people have to realize, they don't work all year. They only get paid for a certain amount of hours. So during the summertime, they're not getting paid. Me, I'm an 8-hour. Others are 5. The rest, most everybody who drives, when they come in, they're 5 hours. You also have to remember, you say they might be advertising they starting at $18. But at the fact of the matter, you got to take part of that money to pay them during the summertime. They only going to get a course of maybe $15 an hour. So you telling me you're going to come in. So what's your solution for that? Because that's the main thing. When anybody comes into a job, they're going to look at the money.
Well, Carlton, understand this. I'm not just coming up here just running my conversation on this piece right here. Number one, I sat on this CAT board for 4 or 5 years. I've also talked with the unions as far as the busing is concerned, and I've also dealt with what goes on in Liberty County and all these other places. Carlton, the first piece that we have to recognize is this: each child brings in a certain dollar amount into the school system. If they're a SPED student, they bring even more money into the school system. If they're Title I, they bring in more money into the school system. And so each child is already bringing the school system, bringing $1 and anything like that. Now, if we're not starting to work toward doing that, we'll lose those dollars anyway, because you know what? They've already put in the legislature as far as the state house is concerned, where they're getting ready to propose where every child, that $6,500 or that $14,000 or whatever that threshold number is, it's going to be available for private schools and everybody else to be able to do it. And they're going to find a solution to do it. Now we can talk about the pay rates and all that stuff like that. We can talk about privatizing the school transportation system. But and Charles, the other thing is, I understand that the county plays a part in this conversation, and municipalities play a part in the situation because we got jacked up traffic coming in and out of routes coming. That's going to cause a time schedule with those kids as well. So you're going to, and it's no different than the problem when you go to a restaurant in Chatham County and they don't have a cook, or they shut the doors, they got the doors locked because people ain't coming to work and this and the third. It's all about how you treat your employees. The one thing I can tell you about, and I'm just using Chick-fil-A as an example. One thing about tell you about Chick-fil-A always got a line. They always take care of their employees, and they always polite. They always take care of business. What is the model that Chick-fil-A is doing that nobody else is doing? What is the model that those things are successful doing that nobody else is doing? And my thing is, and I'll be honest with you, two-way Bull Street makes a lot of money downtown. It's a lot of money tied up downtown to make these decisions. It is not my decision as a school board member. It's my decision to legislate to make sure that we're taking care of every child. And so I would make sure that we hire the best and the brightest people that we can to make sure they take care of these situations. Because my thing is not fair for my child to pay that $1 and then he has to be stuck at going to his homeschool if I can't provide transportation in town. And it's the Savannah Chatham County public school system, not just the Savannah school system. And we have to get past that point, and they have to take care of these kids in West Chatham.
That's correct. I don't want to get off subject, but I like your analogy just now. I've never seen a fight at Chick-fil-A.
Never.
Because if you go in there with a problem, they solve it for you. You go into Waffle House or Burger King or Crystal's or McDonald's, they want to fight you.
You go to Popeyes, you're gonna wait forever. The Popeyes down the street from me, they always got the front door locked. They always got locked. And then, well, baby, we ain't got nobody to work today.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all about conditions of how you treat your employees. And I think, if it's an issue there, Liberty County, I'll tell you straight up, Liberty County don't have the problems we got. Liberty County, right up the street, don't have the problems. And they have, and watch this, it's more rural in Liberty County than it is in Chatham County. But they make sure every kid gets there, and they make sure every kid's have an opportunity to get on that bus.
Yeah. Okay, well, we're going to get into our tough questions. Go ahead, Alton.
What does the 7th district what schools does the 7th district encompass?
New Hampstead High School, Elementary School, West Chatham, Pooler. We have summer kids that come from the schools that's out there in the 8th district. I can't think of it right now, but it's all your new development, all your new schools. Pooler Elementary, Godley Station Elementary. We have more elementary schools than anything else, brother.
It's part of Garden City.
But we don't have none of Garden City. Garden City is all of it's really that. Berwick and Southbridge, they would be considered Garden City if they wake up, but they're not. They're unincorporated Chatham County.
Yeah, but for the county, it's all 7.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. It's all 7 district, all the way, even Highway 80. The west side, part of Highway 80 over there off of by Kerry Hayes, that's the 7th district.
Yeah.
But not the school. The school isn't, though. I don't know why. The school is the 8th district because it's over there off of Kessler.
Because what they do with us in West Chatham is they put a Band-Aid on us. It's the same thing they did when me and Robert were in school. They did a Band-Aid for the South Side. And Carlton, when I went to school here, I went to 5 elementary schools. You know why? It was all based on attendance. So every year, because I lived on the South Side, we went to a different school. Every year I went to a different elementary school. And so it's all about population. And those, whatever population had, where we can group that 180 kids, that's the school we would go to. And that's how Savannah Chatham was back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
Did I answer your question, Carlton?
It did.
Mr. Carter, did I answer your question, brother?
It did.
Okay, first question. Well, third or fourth question, but what is your take on teaching sex education and the rights of the LGBTQ?
I ain't like how y'all blend that. I ain't like how y'all blend that. That ain't a good blend, but go ahead.
They are two different. They are two different conversations, but I'll go ahead and give latitude to both conversations. LGBTQ, conversation. Number one, it's a part of our society. It's a part of our community. We have to acknowledge the fact that it's a part of our society and part of our community. I don't have any acknowledgement against or for it. I just think that it's part of our society and part of our community, and we need to make sure that we're taking care of those youth. If it's a youth piece that you're asking about, or if it's educating people about how they are in our community. Because I mean, it's no different in my book. Talking about how we need to be inclusive about women, how we need to be inclusive about ethnic groups. Is just a part of our society, and so when we separate it, you put blinders, you put highlights on it. And my thing is, I don't think you should put highlights on it. I think they're human beings just like everybody else. We should treat any class or whether you're part of the same. When it comes to sex education was in school when I was in school. So I don't have an issue with sex education still being in school. I don't think that you put a highlight or a high mark on sex education, because sex education now is different than when it was when I was in school. I mean, kids get the YouTube pornography is free now. I mean, you can go on pornography for free now if you don't have any filters. So sex education is viewed a lot different. So I just don't think that that's at my level that I should be stressed about, whether we should be talking about sex education or we should be talking about that issue. I think that's something that the school system needs to do surveys, evaluations, and making sure when we teach it, we're incorporating it to the point where we're not analog and it's digital, as far as kids seeing the digital and we're trying to push it out as analog, because I think that this day and age, it's a lot different when it comes to sex education than when I actually saw it when I was growing up. So those are my two opinions in those two conversations. And I try to keep them separate because I think what Robert said, I agree. You don't want to blend them because it kind of transcended that into a different kind of morph conversation. So
Carlton, Robert,
one of the
you
topics
got a whole list now.
I'm saying I'm gonna go. I don't know if I can't remember right now because I don't know what I did with the list at the moment. But
we'll go off cuss, brother.
One of the topics of conversation when I attended a lot of these school board meetings recently is the banning of books, because these parents come up to the parents find out these kids are reading certain books and they have certain words in it that they don't like. Because I remember one lady, she was in my ear. I know I can't say on air what the lady said to me in my ear because she was whispering and spitting in my ear about it. But just know it's kind of vulgar. But they was very upset that that the schools had these books in there, and they felt like the libraries of the school board should have vetted these books before they got in there. And I was like, so what's your take on this? Do you feel like they should have to individually read every book that goes into these school libraries before they go in there?
Mr. Carter, I'm going to ask you a question. You ready?
Go ahead.
If you want to read something and someone tell you can't read it, but you really want to read it, what you going to do?
I'm going to find a way to do it.
You're going to find a way to do it. So when it comes to, I know you're asking me the question. I'm just putting the analogy back at you, brother. When it comes to books, man, you're not going to. First off, there's two different kind of conversations related to the book bans. Number one, I learned a long time ago. Julius knows what I'm getting ready to go. I learned time ago. You want to keep somebody from somebody, put it in the book. And what's happening now is, guess what, Mr. Carter, we starting to read, and because we starting to read. Now they want to make sure those books aren't available no more. When you're talking about books that's related to understanding slavery or understanding your narrative or understanding your history, especially as an African American, understanding your history, those are books that are being put on the list as well. Because you know why? They don't want history. And watch this. It ain't just about me and you and blacks learning the history. It's about their own kids learning the history of where they came from, because the best way to keep a person ignorant is not to give them the evidence that history actually existed. And so most history we got, the best history we got, is what's written in the book. Now, mind you, I don't understand a lot of books that I saw were banned. I don't understand why they were banned, because there were books that they wrote. And when I say they wrote the history the way they wanted to perceive it, or history should have been perceived. And now, because we're reading it and we say, okay, let's do our research. It's eye-opening. When I came up in school, when I had to write a paper, I had to get an encyclopedia. I had to read a book. We didn't have the internet. Kids right now is at the fingertips. There is nothing hidden no more. It's the same conversation about sex education, same conversation about books. You can get an Audible and you ain't even got to read no more. You can let the phone read to you now. Technology has come so advanced that my thing about conversations about what books are available to read and what books aren't available to read, kids ain't reading the actual natural book anymore anyway. My son got an iPad, a cell phone, a computer. He got all the technology in the world. He ain't picking up no book. He picking up a book because the teacher telling him to pick up a book. But if it's a book he wants to read, he downloads it, he gets it, and he reads it. So you can't keep subject matter from kids being able to read. I think we got to concentrate on the books, and what books we really want to focus on are those books that are history books that tell you about your history, tell you about your story, tell you where you come from, tell you where you need to go so you don't make the same mistakes your ancestors did. I think those are the books we need to concentrate on. But putting a full ban on books, and my thing is, there are certain times in the county commission, I just did not entertain those conversations. That's the conversation I'm going to entertain because I know kids are going to find a way to get to whatever narrative they want to learn, and they're going to learn it. So
well, you know those the wacky ones, they're going to come there protesting and acting a fool. You got one I'm running for state rep now, I think.
Yes, she is.
But they had to tote her out one time on the police.
Yes, they did.
Her out one of the other meetings of
the Board of Election meeting.
Board of Elections meeting. But you got a whole group of these fools. The guy that ride around with the flag.
Yeah, he blocked up the road yesterday. On
Yes, sir. I love it.
You got a lot of wacky people, and it's not just happening here in Chatham County. You got these wackos all over the country talking about banning books because it has sex in it. And like you said, you can get
that's called insecurities. People are insecure about the things that they want to do, they can't do. So that's what that's about. Let's just be very wacky. They just scared to do what they want to do.
I think that it's not only that, Robert. I think that they just want to complain. It's a certain element out there that just wants to complain. They don't want to find nothing right in anything that is being done. So they started with the school boards, trying to get the school boards to see how it works with the protesting and showing up and acting a fool. And it didn't work. It ain't working except in the redneck parts of the country.
Well, let me slide this question to you because it's so ironic. I was just passing by the young brothers. You know, we have young brothers here in Savannah that don't sell their water, so on the corners. But it's no secret that our nation and our country and different school districts, including ours, have been disproportionately unfair to Black males. What can we do, or what would you advocate for to direct funding or resources or whatever for making sure that we have some type of specialized spotlight to support our African American brothers, more so in our inner city areas and our lower income spaces?
I think there's efforts already being done. I know for a fact, it's kind of hard going into schools. We did during the Christmas holidays. Johannes donated paper. We did donate paper to 25 schools. When we do that, the first thing that's always asked is, can you come in and start a mentoring program? And when we look at and we look at the numbers, they used to talk about how Black males are not involved in the parent household like they used to and all that stuff like that. And then we're starting to even pull back and look at research. It's not as bad as they make it out to be as far as Black males being involved in the household. I think the biggest thing what we can do is we need to, I know in the 7th district, understanding PTAs and making sure PTA involvement is very, very, very important. Learning what the parents are going through with their kids is very, very important. I think you can see it, Robert, and I'll call it for what it is. You go to the Islands PTA. Islands PTA is probably one of the most well-organized PTAs in Chatham County. And what they do is they put their dollar with their voice. Then you go to the other side of town, you go to Hodge PTA, and I call them out because I've gone to these PTAs and I've gone to these schools as a mentor before, and you go to those urban schools, and parents are not involved. And right. So I think the first piece that we have to do, first caveat I have to do is we have to build our PTAs. We have to build our PTAs. And a lot of times, Robert, you know what? Us as elected leaders, We don't build our PTAs. You know why? Because when we build our PTAs, we actually building something that can hold us accountable. And we don't want to be held accountable. So therefore, we like the system broken and fragile the way it is. And my thing is the PTA system is probably one of the strongest systems, if done correctly, can fix a lot of these problems, a lot of these struggles we have in our school system, because it can challenge our leaders to step up to the bank and do what needs to be done. And so reinforcing that conversation with the PTAs is probably one of the strongest conversations I have, making sure that the schools have the resources, and look at what the resources they didn't have the year before, and look at what resources we need to provide for the next year. And that's a budgetary conversation. Like, for example, I hate the fact that when we look at schools, we look at a Godly Station, and we look at a Hodge. Godly Station is going to be in a business district that's going to have a lot of dollars that can actually filtrate into that school, versus Hodge won't have all that. But then you look at looking at the base of it, you also look at the core structure of what those communities look like. And those communities don't understand the need of creating a budget, the need of holding the teachers accountable, and what's up, and stuff like that. And then so those are the schools that need the resources like an extra counselor, or extra guidance counselor, or extra teachers, or sped teachers, or whatever kind of other support systems that actually work in those schools to actually make those schools better. So I think a true evaluation and making sure that each school, even though you want to try to give them the same dollar, but you got to make sure that each one of them is given the right resources to actually make those schools better. And that's, I think, what we need to focus at.
And you're absolutely right about them PTAs. One of the best islands do got one of the best PTAs. Herd actually
the best,
has
brother. The best.
Like, and but when it comes down, and I also look at it as the fact that and you called it, and then you hit the nail on the head. The economics of the area. Those parents out there on the islands, a lot of those are one parent households, and they do very well. A lot of those kids don't ride the bus, surprisingly. A lot of their parents come pick them up, drop them off, so they have a more active role where they're free. Versus the parents at Hodge, they work all day, they have to work a lot more because they don't have the economic resources in the household to sit here and say, hey, one parent is going to work and we're going to lie and we're going to be on this PTA. So you are absolutely correct. The community involvement is the key to getting everything done, but it's hard to get people to see what they don't want to see, because the eye only sees what the mind is prepared to comprehend.
I agree.
Okay. Well, Robert, he done left off again now.
No, I'm back. I had to check on y'all. Know I had to come check on Mama real quick. So I'm back.
We had another question before we go to a commercial.
Let me see. What's a good one for him? Well, I definitely want to ask this. As you said, we have a new superintendent, and it's important that while we don't give her a free pass to do what she wants, how do we kind of, support her in a way that is right for Chatham County students, but also advocate for things that, are best for our district, because we know that what was working in Texas or what when she was coming through as a student may not work well for Chatham County. So how do we balance that piece of making sure we be supportive, but also, demonstrate what has worked well and what is kind of good for our students here in Chatham?
I think the first point I want to point out when it comes to that conversation, Robert, is the fact that we unanimously, all 9 board members unanimously voted to bring this lady in. Nobody voted no. They may have had a 1 quorum statement or whatever case may be, and I didn't look to see if anybody had statements. When I saw it was unanimous. So when we unanimously put somebody in play without any quorum, that means we're accepting whatever she's offering to us. In business, when you unanimously put somebody in play, you accept that person for at least 6 months to a year so we can see what their strategy is, their play is, whatever case may be. Now, mind you, it doesn't mean you fall on the sword on everything she puts out there. You still give her guidelines, you still give her support, you still give her those things that she needs to have. But we unanimously put this young lady in this office. And so that means we need to be putting as much support as possible with her. But watch this. I don't do this often, but what I found out, which kind of pushed me to run for public office, and especially for the school board, is we have the person who I'm running against, and I'm not gonna do this often, Mr. Carter. I don't do this often, but we have the person I'm running against. He was over the budget committee, the most important committee there is when it comes to school system, and he wasn't showing up to meetings. He wasn't even calling meetings. We wasn't even doing anything budgetary wise to actually make this thing happen. And so when you got school board members not even following through on what they need to do after you put somebody brand new in office, that's our problem right there in a nutshell. And my thing is, you also got to look at the fact, Robert, that the budget we approved this year will be her first budget because she was working on the former superintendent's budget all last year. So whatever budget she presents now is going to be her budget. And so we got to look and we got to pull down with good eyes to make sure that when she puts forward this budget, there's some changes that's going to be earmarked. And some things we should accept the first year. Some things we should say, hey, next year we'll put that in the budget next year. But I can tell you right now, the first thing I hope to get out of it is I'm going to explain to her. I say, look here, man, I want this budget because we know, we all know, those people who follow politics knows, the state of Georgia is going after public school dollars. They want to pull public school dollars and put it into private schools. They already take the best athletes and everything like that. Hence why your private schools are outperforming us when it comes to sports. You're already seeing that. You're already seeing that effort. Now they're going to start going after those kids for academics. Now they're going to start going after them kids with the Title I because they take that one kid who got that Title I and put him in a private school. They're not only going to get that $6,500, they're going to get that Title I dollar because that Title I dollar is separate from that money we're talking about. And so we have to make sure that we give her the right budget, we give her the right opportunity, and we have to become competitive to not just schools outside of Chatham County, but we have to become competitive with the private schools right here in Chatham County too. And that's the thing that I'm going to tell her. I'm saying, hey, what are we doing to make sure we're keeping the best and the brightest school kids in public school? And that has to be a strong conversation.
And not a shameless plug. I'll tell you, you do the job. You have to hire the best executive director for engagement and outreach. So Denise, I applied for that job. So I just wanted to give that shameless plug. Next time.
That was shameless.
That was beyond shameless.
That's real. That's real.
Who is the current person who represents the 7th district? If you don't
know.
Well, Carter, there's something that we as politicians don't do, and Julius knows what I'm about to say.
Me too.
We never mention who we running against in any kind of public setting. Ever.
Julius, who it is?
No, you gotta go research. Now you know the research.
And in this particular instance, if the person that you're trying to replace and that person wants to, if a constituent asks you, then you need to answer because we don't go out and say a person's name because that gives air to their name and other people's head. But it's Michael Johnson, and the candidate is never supposed to say it unless somebody asks him. But they just don't come out and say, I'm running against, I'm running against, that gives his name.
I should always say I'm running against the candidate or I'm running it for the seat.
And what you want to do,
Mr. Carter, just like you looked up, 90% of the people in the 7th district, when I mentioned who I'm running against, they did that same look you just gave. Nobody knows who he is.
Yeah, because
I know who he is. I actually do know who you're talking about. I had to put a face on the name real quick though. But I know who you're talking about.
I got you, brother. I got you, brother. I got you. I'm sorry. I got you.
Yeah. And so
but you right.
Yeah.
Why you got that grandma look? He got that grandma like, yeah, baby, you right.
and because at certain times you have to be able to put yourself against their policies, how you put, that's one of the questions. What will be the difference between how you govern and that of your opponent?
Mm-hmm. That's a good one.
I mean, and I can answer that question without ever saying his name, but how I govern different than him, he's already proved, like I stated earlier, he was given the opportunity to be over a committee, one of the largest committees and what I'm saying is public knowledge. He was over the budget committee. He absolutely positively did nothing with the budget committee. And my thing is that budget committee steers how we use dollars and transition dollars, whether we need to come up with new budgetary items, we need to remove budgetary items, we need to enhance budgetary items. All that comes from the budget committee. And so my thing is that's one of those committees that's a very, very important committee. Policy wise, I'm a policymaker. I'm a person who understands policy. I'm a person who understands how you manipulate policy. Coming from my seat is a little harder because I don't have Savannah at interest, and Savannah has 4 policymakers on the board. So those 4 people are always going to be Savannah driven, where I am going to be Pooler driven, where I'm going to be West Chatham driven. So my conversation has to be with the 8th district. My conversation has to be with the 6th district. My conversation is going to have to be with the 5th district, and make amends with those 4 people to actually move policy. I've done it before. It's not something I have not done before. So it comes a question of, you know, I mean, when you get in the seat, how do you maneuver policy? Sometimes and I can speak on it now, you know, with the library, Southwest Library. I wanted to make moves with the Southwest Library and make it where we got more activity or extended hours at Southwest Library. If I would have made it a public conversation and being the chair, being the commissioner of the South Side, I wouldn't have got no support. But because I had a conversation with the library, then I had a conversation with the county manager, and I had a conversation with everybody else, it got done. And it didn't require me to make a public conversation about it. Now, Carter, nobody knows about that, but you know what? It got done. You know who does know about it? The people at Southwest Library, because guess what? The hours that closed later than what it was before. And what caused the problem was policy the library had, where they had issues where somebody stole some money from the library, and you know ultimately got punished? The kids. The kids got ultimately punished because the library used to close at 8, 9 o'clock, but because they had to make up the shortfall of money they lost many years ago, the best way to do that was to cut the time on the hours on the library and save money on employee and staff. Now, is that fair to kids? That's bad policy, because you didn't think about whether the kids show up or not. What I learned about the public library was public library is a safe haven for some kids.
Yes.
It's a place where they can't be at home. Public library is a good place for them to be at. And now if the library closes at 6 o'clock, they get out of school at 4 o'clock. It takes them 30 minutes to get to the library. They only get an hour and a half in the library. That made no sense to me. Why are we closing it at 6? But it's a policy issue. And the policy issue was driven by finances. Carter, we got to have people in play who understands how you change those narratives and make it work for us.
Well, y'all quiet. Y'all
what makes you feel like you're the best candidate for the job? You stated that you stated that it's all about policy, but what makes you the best candidate for the job?
Hold up. I got you.
Oh, wait.
There you go.
Okay, I was like, what just happened?
I got a phone call.
I'm about to say, did Putin come after us too? Like he did that cargo ship?
My fault. I'm back on, y'all.
See, I keep coming for you today.
Carter, I thought you was asking the question. What was your question, brother? I'm sorry.
If you had to sum up I'm gonna give you three words.
I can't hear you.
In three words, in 3 words, what would you say makes you the best candidate for the job?
I can't hear you.
You can't hear him at all?
Carter, I can't hear you.
I think him.
Can you hear us?
No, I don't think he hears.
I hear you, Robert.
Oh, okay. Oh, he said, what are the if you were to sum it up in 3 words, what would be the 3 words you use to describe why you're the best person for this position?
The experience I have as far as understanding the political stream, making sure I understand politics, relationships with the state level, federal level, and local level as far as politics is concerned, streamlining all 3 of those together to make sure that we have the right representation to actually create the right policies that meet for all people, not just some people, is my first thing. The other piece is political aptitude, making sure that we understand that I just don't. I'm not in it running as just a candidate running. I'm running because I actually have a child who actually lives in my house who is ultimately affected by that. So I actually got skin in the game when it comes to understanding this affects my household more than anything else. And the third thing would be I think that this leads us into a greater relationship because I bring experience from the county once again, who's the group of people who approves the budget. Now I become the person who makes the budget that's approved by the county. So I've already seen the tail end of what the budget looks like. Now I can see what the root of the cause looks like. And this is a great time because you got a new superintendent. You have a lot of new people that are going to be downtown going into after June 1st when the new contracts are issued. You got a lot of changes getting ready to happen. So this is a good time to actually not just make changes within the confines of within that building, but make sure we make effective change, and use that lateral movement of how the community is changing as well.
What? Can you hear me?
I can't hear you either, Julius.
That's weird, but he can hear me. But go ahead. Yeah. Well,
Probably y'all both probably got cricket. That's probably why. And me and Carlton got on T-Mobile.
Oh, Jessa has. I think I got AT&T for her.
Ask him. I don't know what's the technical difficulty. I don't understand.
So I can't hear Julius.
I try go back out and come back in. That might be what it is.
Okay.
Just totally go out and come back in. I might be all translator today. Not today up in here.
I think I go all the way out.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Because you showing half your face most of the time.
I don't know why, because right now I'm showing most of it, but
the whole thing is showing.
Yeah, now it is, but it kind of end up drifting like. I don't send no comment now because I know I feel like I don't want to send a comment.
Well, I haven't gonna get on you and on Charlie Brown
and Bernard.
Can you hear us, Jay?
I can hear you now.
Yeah.
Okay. Next question. What are your thoughts on did I ask you this on tax money being used for private and religious schools?
Well, you didn't ask it, but I mentioned it earlier.
He kind of touched bases on that earlier.
Oh, okay. I wanted to make sure because that's one of the questions that we had. What are the top needs for your district?
Well, I mentioned that too earlier too.
For the whole school district? Where was that? Okay. I got some tough ones now. You want to bypass those?
No. I mean, look here, Julius. I'm gonna give you whatever answer comes.
Hey,
so I mean, there's no such thing as a touch point.
One on our YouTube page, I see that somebody said you said that those questions were. I mean, those that what you said was researchable and public record. Do you know how your opponent voted on teacher raises?
I don't know. Being honest with you, I don't.
Okay. Maybe that's a person that's in the school system. They'll tell us in a minute. Do you support teacher raises, and how do you feel about the bus drivers and the cafeteria workers and the janitorial workers?
Well, number one, my mother was an English teacher in Savannah Chatham public school system for 27 years. So I don't think there's enough money we can ever make or give to a teacher. So of course I do believe in giving raises. I think when we look at the structure of schools, as far as how we put teachers in certain schools, it needs to be a merit-based situation tied to that as well. When it comes to cafeteria workers, bus drivers, Mr. Carter, I know he spoke on it earlier in reference to that how you pay those bus drivers. And I'm not saying I'm not sympathetic to that situation. It's just a matter of we have to come up with a solution because at one point in time we had it. And I understand the economy has changed, the world has changed, and people have changed, but we still got to make sure we make those accommodations happen. So and to find that shortfall as far as that money is concerned, the money is out there. I think we just have to reevaluate our budget. I can tell you now, Julius, our budget hasn't changed much in the last 5-10 years. I can tell you that. And because it hadn't changed in the last 5-10 years, and it's had its stagnant growth where it's increased, but what we done with the extra increase has not been marginalized correctly, I guess. If and I hate saying correctly and not correctly, but you use it to the best of its ability. I think that there's room for us to actually look at these budgets and actually see if they're performing right. Uh, I remember growing up in an era where we didn't do nothing unless we had documentation to prove what we wanted resource wise. Now we just say, hey, this is what we want, and we pay for it. But then when it comes to better education for those who are the needed the most, we give every excuse in the world about why we can't get that money to those people. And the unfortunate piece about that conversation is, even on county commission, I used to argue on behalf of the lost, the left out, and the least, more than those people, those communities who had them. I mean, if you look at the 6th district and the 7th district, it's not a needy district. I mean, I actually have it where we have core groups of people who actually, if you just gave them the right information, I mean, we can have great dialogue. I mean, there are some communities that don't have that. And you have leadership who doesn't step up to the mark and provide that kind of leadership for them. But I'm not here to judge those leadership. My job is to make sure I'm the voice for the 7th district first, and then second, be the voice for those people in Chatham County. So when it comes to that narrative, that's the focal point that I have to actually respond to. And my thing is, I don't think, once again, we pay teachers nowhere near what we should be paying them. But that's something we have to find the dollars and make sure we can show the increase.
Okay. CRT, what's your thoughts?
What is CRT?
Critical race theory.
I just want to make sure. Well, critical race theory come out of the school system. I mean, not the college system. So, I mean, critical race theory was just the term they used to actually quantify whether racism should or shouldn't exist in certain accolades. I personally don't believe in going to give energy to critical race theory as far as things concerned. I think that we need to teach in February. We need to teach Black History Month. In March, we need to teach Women's Appreciation Month. We need to teach it as we do in society. We need to understand. Everybody needs to understand that we just don't need to know history of American history where George Washington put the flag in the boat. We need to learn the history of 1865. We got Emancipation Proclamation as well. So we need to know all our histories, all the way to civil rights and where we come from, because the fastest way to keep society from growing, or the fastest way to keep a core group bound by the other group, is to make sure that they don't understand, and they don't understand that they can do better, they can do right. I fight my own child in my own house. I try to say, hey man, you may not want to be an entrepreneur, but you're gonna learn how to be an entrepreneur. So when you get to that age, if you don't choose to be an entrepreneur, you can't say I didn't instill it in you. All you can say is you chose not to do it. Mm-hmm. And so it's the same conversation when we talk about critical race theory. We have to make sure that we're equal in all the conversations we're having about all the people in our society. And we also can't look at it from a national perspective, because if you look at Chatham County is 42% African American, 52% in the city of Savannah. So you have a heavy African American population. So you should be teaching what issues are related to African Americans in this community, because this is the community you're growing up in. This is the community you're gonna live in. So you should actually learn those kind of topics, those kind of subjects. So, and that's my conversation when it comes to critical race theory.
Yeah, you said something important, and I hope that parents will start doing this a little more often in our communities. Carl and I talk a lot about this, but what you talked about, and as far as working with your child, see, a lot of times people put a lot of pressure on the teachers to solve all the problems with the children, and the parents have got to be engaged at a certain level. Carl and I was talking about, he transports students, and he had two young children on the bus, and he said, well, what do you want to be when you grow up? And they said nothing. And all of us on here come from a pretty decent, privileged background, and especially, I have, just like Jay. I mean, our dads worked together. Both our parents were teachers, and so, I come from a home that, I didn't have a choice but to understand what path to kind of follow. But I just wish that we could find a way to engage parents. I mean, I understand the plights that the students face, but I just hope that one day the parents, and it's not about no fault. We had babies having babies at one point, right? So they don't understand the value or the importance of you're participating not only to get your child in a good place, but for you to have the information to impact policy. But a lot of times our Hitch Village friends and our, I'm always saying Fred Russell friends and all that, they don't necessarily get that. Not apply on them, they just don't understand that pushing. So, all of that, when you're not engaged at a certain level as an adult, it impacts your child, because what happens, and I tell people this all the time, don't let these white teachers tell you about your child. That irritates my nerves. And you go put your churn on really. No, your child is probably the smartest person in the room, finished their work faster because it's smarter. And guess what? If I ain't got nothing to do, guess what I'm doing? I'm going to talk and cut the food. So, I just wanted to put that out there, because there's got to be a real conversation on how we get these parents plugged in.
So do we have a youth problem or a parent problem?
Both.
I think you have a mixture of both.
Why do we have a youth problem? If the parents check them, shouldn't it not be a youth problem if the parents are checking the kids the correct way?
And Julius, me and you going to debate on this all the way off the sun, even off this thing. What I'm learning as a parent to a 10-year-old, I come at Johannes in my old school, the way my parents raised me, and it don't work. It don't work at all. But when I come up with a little bit of new school, with some of that old school with it, it works. And what I mean by that is Johannes is a visual learner. He's a learner where, me and you grew up in the era. I don't know about Robert, because Robert's a couple years younger than me. I must just throw that out there. We grew up in the era where do as you told. and when we say, well, why I gotta do it? Because I told you so. And my thing is, we understood the rod was coming. The rod was coming. In this day and age, if the rod come, I go to jail. And so it's a different kind of conversation, it's a different way of reaction, how you have to do it. And you still and see, God didn't say the rod was the switch off the tree. God said the rod is whatever it's going to take to discipline your child. And so to discipline my child, then I take his iPad, his cell phone, it's all his technology. I let him have it. Or I do some of that old school stuff, Julius, that you know of, without doing the cord. I do some of that old stuff that you know of, Julius. I'll take everything out of his room, and he'll be nothing but white walls and a bed. That's it.
And the door.
And the door. And I'll take the door. I mean, but those are things I still can do.
Come on, knock on the door before you come in. Knock on what door?
Hell out you up. What you
ain't ready now?
And Johannes put a note on the door the other day, and I said,
hell out you.
I said, where you? And so I let him go outside on the porch, and I said, hey man, see this chair right here? This is the only thing you can have. This air, right? All this air is yours. You can have all the air you want. Now you can't come back in my house until I give you give you permission to do so. But it's a different kind of generation. I mean, where I'm going at, and we gotta. And I'm not saying we gotta give the children everything, but we gotta start finding ways to meet the kids at this generation.
Yeah.
And at first, Julius, the old school in me do not like that conversation there, but I understand that's just the way the generation is, and I think a lot of it has to do with this too, Julius. When we came up, all the teachers that I'm gonna just say for me, every teacher at Windsor Forest, and Robert can attest to that. Every teacher at Windsor Forest, they knew my mama personally. So before I got home, my mom already had the conversation already taken care of.
So bad.
It was no discipline issues with me because my mama took it, and they didn't just do it with my mama, because that just happened to be a relationship with mama, but that the teachers had those kind of relationships in the community because we all went to the same church. If we didn't go to the same church, we went to church for 5 hours together. We all saw each other and we knew each other's kids. You Rose child. That I grew up as Rose child forever, or Joe's child. I was never James. I could never every time I run and I talk to anybody, say, Carter, and if you ever run for office, Carter, if you ever run for anything, you don't say who you are. You say who your mama is. You say who your daddy is. Because when you say who you is, they say, I don't know nobody named that. But when I tell them I'm Rose's son, or I'm my grandmother's a Kennedy, or my grandmother grew up on the west side, or whatever those old things, that's how we generalize things, And so I mean that's what Julie's not to ramble too far with the conversation. This generation is different, and we got to stop saying that they're lazy. They're not lazy. They just do think they make money in a different way, or they think in a different way than we do.
Yeah,
we got to
they're
start
wired.
acknowledging those ways.
They're wired differently. But
Correct.
my thing is, we have a declining enrollment across the nation of students into the schools. Students are going to school when they feel like, and I know part of it is the parents having to go to work and leaving the kids there to go out and go to school, catch the bus on their own. And some I got kids that not my kids. I'm talking about mentoring kids that live in my community out here. I got 8-10 boys out here, and they call me at various times. They done overslept, and I got to get up and take them to school, because their mom done gone to work. The dad ain't there. The mom done gone to work. Mm-hmm. So I get up and I go take them to school. Ask my wife. I get up all the time and take these kids to school. They done overslept because they're working. They're 16, 17, 18 years old, and they work in McDonald's till 11 o'clock at night.
That's real.
Then they coming home, and then they on their phones talking to their little girlfriends or boyfriends or whatever for hours. Then they go to sleep at 1 or 2 o'clock and then oversleeping and then calling Mr. Julius, can you give me a ride to school? You going into Savannah?
That's the hard because you got them all the way out, all the way down.
So Julius, what you just explained to me is we have a priority issue. I mean, it's simple and plain. We have a priority issue. I mean, school is not the top priority. Now, I mean, I can't answer that question, but why is school not the top priority? Well, I mean, in some regards, if I'm going to an environment for 7 to 8 hours and all they're going to do is fuss at me, complain at me, it's an antiquated system and it does not fit within the genre of a TikTok or a phone conversation about boyfriend, girlfriend, stuff like that, and it's not relatable to me, then I'm gonna treat it like an unrelatable task. And the biggest thing that I struggle in my own house is responsibility. That's another piece. If we're not teaching responsibility, as far as understanding, when I walk in the house today, I'm yelling at the top of my lungs because the clothes ain't getting washed or the dishes ain't getting washed. It's a responsibility conversation, and I say that to piggyback because I think this society is not enforcing responsibility on kids like it was enforced on me and you. And so how do you create a new narrative of understanding responsibility or even making it relatable in the school system? Because there are kids who do love going to school. I talk to a lot of kids who do love going to school. And you know why they love going to school? Because they're engaged in certain different things.
Yeah,
that let them go to school. I mean,
everything is learned. It's a learned process on everything that we do. We do things because you're teaching Johannes things and that's what he'll learn along the way. You're a good parent. And then every parent is not a bad parent. A lot of parents just don't have the time, have to work, don't have the energy. And some of the kids are just at that point where they're 12, they're really acting like they're 18. When they're 14, they're acting like they're 20. These kids are grown now. I got a goddaughter that's grown as hell, and at 16, grown. And it just is, it's a parenting job. And sometimes we don't want to do what is necessary to make these kids do what they need to do because we're scared of the kids. And that old where is it? Let me see if I can get it. We have an old what her name was, Dr. Hare, Robert.
Who?
I don't think I got it on here no more. I took it off with Dr. Hare. No, it was on the Rabble, I believe. It was on the Rabble with Dr. Julia Hare. You remember what she had with the school? The kids are scared of this, and
I remember. Yeah. She said it at the NAACP about 10 years ago.
About 10 years ago, she recently
I remember.
passed.
She said the teachers are scared of the parents,
The parents,
well, the teachers are scared of the principals are scared of the parents are scared of something, and ultimately speaking, and the top person is scared of the kids.
Yeah. And the kids
I
ain't
remember
scared of no damn body.
And the kids ain't scared of a damn soul.
But I'm gonna tell y'all this: there are educators. Hold on, there are educators out there and I'm gonna give you a good one, Dr. Pat Harris. You know Pat Harris. You got teachers like that who truly are engaged, who have a presence, and who would jack all of y'all up. And so I think if we had, everybody don't have that personality. Dr. Green, Miss Green and Miss Hines, all of them. When you went to Windsor, you weren't about to be playing around acting all the fool, because I'm glad she's going.
Don't forget Miss Davis.
Miss Davis, all them deltas. I wish you would run up on a delta teacher, man. Please.
Boy. Carter, you had something?
I tell them, Sean, I ain't scared of none of y'all. I said, if y'all ready, we can pull this bus over whenever we can handle this. Whenever you ready, just let me know.
and Julius, I taught school. I taught at Jenkins back in 2000 when I first got here in 2006, 2007. And my thing is, Julius, I didn't have attendance problems. I didn't have issues. You know why? Because genuinely speaking, I showed I cared. And I think a lot of it, and I don't want to get into the weeds of it, a lot of it is educators don't care as much as they did when I was in school. They had community investment. It was a part of an investment. And I'm not knocking the teachers we have, and I'm not saying all teachers don't care. So I want that clear too. But it was an investment. Like I said before, that same Irene Hines who was on the board, that was my ninth grade biology teacher at Windsor Forest High School. And when you came in that class late, she clowned you. She gave you the business. And we all understood it to be caring, all to be joyful and friendly. But we all felt bad disappointing them. Yeah. Kids don't feel bad disappointing teachers nowadays. And the system has done everything to cater to the kids. Yeah. Because it's now the system. Julius, it's a system now where you ain't got to do none of your work the whole school year. In the very last week of school, you can do all these tests on the computer and you still get the same grades if you did it every single week. We're creating a system, and this is not just Chatham County, but this is the United States wide. We're creating a system that pacifies and allows kids to get away with, and then these kids become adults, and then society is affected by what we have created.
You know, the very same school you was talking about, Windsor Forest, I was speaking with somebody the other day, and they told me that how pre-pandemic, they had a 95% attendance rate for the kids, and now they have a 46% attendance rate. It's like the kids don't come to school, the parents don't care. But one thing I'll say is you are absolutely right. Teachers don't care anymore. Not like how they used to be, because I remember when I was growing up, I was scared for that teacher to call my mama, leave a message, and so my mama got that message, because I already knew what was about to transpire when I hit that door.
You better say it.
Baby, let me tell you.
And when I was a teacher, Carter, I did all that old school. You won't interrupt my class, I'm gonna interrupt your mama job. And I would pick my cell phone up in class and call that child mama right there in class. Well, ma'am, I'm just calling you because your child felt the need to interrupt my class, so I figure I interrupt your day at work.
Let me tell you this. Let me tell you how well disciplined I was. Jay, the thing about your mom, our parents being teachers.
Both was the same.
My mom was a teacher, so by the time I got to third grade, I was so well behaved that Miss Singleton, y'all know Shalana, her mom taught me third grade. She said, I already talked to your mama. She opened her desk. She said, "This paddle right here got your name on it," and she told me I have permission to do it. That's just how well behaved I was. And then we'll come home and get told up, Carlton.
But you know the kids now, when they call, they don't. You ain't got to call them. By the time you done said something to them, they done called their mama. And I'd be like, I don't care if you call your mom.
He said, I gotta get out here, blood.
Mama, he up here yet. I never forget. I was a child called their mom. I said something off the wall. To the child, and the child hadn't called their mom. And I was like, personally, I don't care if you call your mama. I say, your mom, we on the same page. Your mama with it, I'm with it too.
And that's what we need. We need strong-willed people who wants to pour into these kids' life. See, most people would just say, "Oh, I'm not getting involved. I don't care. I'm not going to," And I don't agree with a teacher slamming a kid.
No,
I don't agree with a teacher bulldogging a kid. I don't agree with it.
Touch me now, Michelle.
But I don't mind a teacher whipping a kid, but I don't mind. I don't mind a teacher jacking a kid up. I don't mind. They say they don't supposed to touch them. No, sometimes you got to touch these little rascals.
Yeah, well,
Sometimes you got to.
Well, I hear you, but those are conversations that don't need to be public conversation. And
No.
Same problem. The problem with that now is you got cell phones, and
that's
the
right.
minute something transpire, cell phones come out, and we just live in a different society now.
I'm gonna tell them the class. All right, if y'all gonna tape this, tape it from the beginning now, because when you get out of line, I'm for to knock a little ass out.
Right.
You know? Well, I'm gonna ask you a question. How many discipline problems you think happen over at early college or at early college or Savannah Arts Academy? How many discipline issues have at Tybee Allen Maritime School?
0 to 1.
Why? Why?
I'm gonna say not a lot because those kids can get easily booted back to their home schools if they.
There you go. It's a zero tolerance. Zero tolerance. So basically, if you have any discipline issues, you get zero tolerance. Now, why hasn't enough people raised that notion to say, okay, these schools don't have any discipline issues, and if you don't know this, Savannah Arts Academy is top 10 in the state of Georgia. So they don't have no issue, and they're allowed to do that. They also, guess what they don't have, Mr. Carter? They don't have sports. They've also took it where basketball's not over there, football's not over there. It's specific sports not over there. I wonder why those sports aren't over there versus they have lacrosse, they have other sports that are over there. Why is that?
Because we as a people, POCs, usually don't participate in those sports. So it keeps us for the ones who that's the particular sport. They have to go to another school where it's predominant. Because you are absolutely right. A lot of those sports are the big two aren't there. The big two.
And you know what they'll tell you? The reason why they're not there is because we don't have enough kids that quote unquote want to participate in those programs. So that's why we don't have those programs, because they have a recreation budget, and they don't want to waste the recreation budget on the potential they don't have kids. But Savannah Arts Academy has never opened it up to the point where we want to have better enrollment and we want to incorporate all the kids who are smart kids across the board to be able to go into the system. Nah, they're handpicked. They're handpicked from the system to go in that school. And so it's streamlined as a filter, but they won't talk about it as a filter, as a guaranteed filter to make sure they keep certain elements out of it. You know, and that's all I ask for. You know, Savannah, my thing is, watch this, brother. We ain't got to bust nobody out to New Hampstead if you go ahead and put an engineering program out there or a logistics program out there. You ain't got to bust it out there. Because you got enough territory. When you build these schools in these rural parts of the county, then guess what? You build it where you can also put a tech corridor tied to it, or a engineering corridor tied to it. But right now, how a system is built, if my child wants to go and be an engineer, I gotta drive him into Jenkins High School from Pooler, and that's my conversation from earlier. It's not that if that's the alleviate conversation when you don't want to do busing, then let's create programs where the IB program, Carter, the IB program, for example, you realize Division I schools only recruit IB kids, like UNC Chapel Hill or Georgia Tech. Not most of their kids are IB students. So if they're IB students, Johnson and Windsor are the only two IB schools that I know of. My child has to go across town to be able to be IB and that IB conversation.
You know, it's funny that you mentioned that because I can remember I was at a particular meeting and one of the other board members, it was like a couple of years ago, brought up the fact of, hey, you know, we got this school here with this, and they wanted, it was about the bus, I think it was after the bus got taken away, and then they wanted to expand from moving program from just because it's located at this school, why can't we put it at this school or this school or this school, so we don't have this issue. And it was like immediately shot down because I remember at a point in time, especially like Woodville Tompkins. Woodville Tompkins was the top of the school. Now I think about it. It was like they build they wanted to make another school like Woodville Tompkins because at one point in time Woodville Tompkins was top 10 schools in the nation because they had a 100% graduation. And they absolutely shot it down. They was like, no, we don't want to do that. This, that, and the third. It's going to do this, that, and the third. They found a absolute reason not to do that.
They created a reason.
They created a reason.
But my thing is, if you did those programs at all these schools, then guess what? You wouldn't have this conversation of busing.
I am so sorry. We are 2 minutes over our time. We're 32 minutes really over. But we 2 minutes over our time.
If they listen to me, y'all.
But that's what we want to do. We want to make it personable so the people could get to know you. Just come and give those cookie cutter answers is not what we want to do. We want to make sure that people get a personal side of you. And that's probably why we went over without looking. I'll never go over. But we two minutes over that time already. By the time we close, we'll be 5. So give your closing real quick and tell people why they should vote for you and win the early voting so we can get out of here.
Well, as the person who came before me, I can't think of her name right now, but early voting starts April 29th, and voting is May the 21st. Our names will be on the ballot on everybody's ticket. There won't be any separate party tickets or anything like that. We'll be on everybody's ticket because these are nonpartisan seats. I'm running because I think we need to have a greater stance, a greater voice as far as what represents us on the school board here in the 7th District and in Chatham County. I am not running as an incumbent. The other person is watching as an incumbent, so I'm not going to say I'm running as incumbent. I am running against the incumbent. Okay, Ivan, I got you. I'm running against the incumbent. But I'm not even going to give him incumbent status because he's been missing in action for the last 8 years, as far as I'm concerned. So it's time for change. It's time for an opportunity where we have the right voice for all the people, not just some of the people. And so I'm running to make a difference. I'm running because I have a personal issue with it because I have a family member in my house, a child who I want to make sure he gets the best education. And the society that he has to live in is very important to me. And so I want that society that he lives in has a good education as well. There's a lot coming from the state and the federal side of politics that are going to affect the decisions moving forward. And so we need leadership who is not afraid to challenge with policy that's going to fit the narrative for our community. And so my name is James J. Jones. That's how my name is written on the ballot. And I am running to be the next 7th District Board of Elections, Board of Education member for Savannah Chatham County Public School System. And if you want to reach me, I have a public number, 912-228-2205. My email address is jay4chatham, CHATHAM @gmail.com. Email accessible, phone accessible. We will be having events in the near future. Our next event is May the 7th. It's planned at one of the restaurants local here. And just keep an eye on my social media page and keep up with those events. And that's all I have to say. Appreciate you giving me the opportunity, fellas, for being here on Saturday. So I'm going to take my jacket off and my shorts off, and I'm getting out there on these streets.
Okay.
Hope y'all caught that.
We'll see y'all next week. Don't forget, tune in 6 o'clock for Pastor Smalls on Unity Political Action Committee page. And I'd say we 5 minutes over already. When it's after 2 hours, the platform shuts down. So hopefully you got that last part of it. We'll see y'all later.
All right.
Okay, y'all.
Like this. like that.